Hi there, it's Sandra Alexander, speech therapist, mother of somebody with autism, here to talk about more instructional forms of ABA. Right now, we're going to talk about naturalistic instructional strategies, and we'll compare them with discrete learning and trial strategies and see how they're the same and how they're different and how they work on things. Let's dive on in. So a naturalistic ABA strategy has some common characteristics. The environment attracts the child to a desired item or material. The child starts the interaction. That's a huge difference. The parent might promote it with elaboration by maybe giving them ideas or helping them state something. And the target response is rewarded with access to the item. So, for example, if a child's in an environment and for example, they're hungry and they want to get this apple, they're going to try to request the apple, and that's in a naturalistic setting. They're already interested in it. So they'll initiate that. They might do it with a gesture or verbal or both. So after the child initiates that, that's a learning opportunity. The parent might say, for example, apple, give me apple, so that you're modeling how they could say it. Or say, I want apple. And then the parent gives the child the apple when they do it. And that's naturally occurring. So here's comparing DTI with what happens generally in a naturalistic setting. So where does the instruction take place? In DTI, it's in a structured setting. You've set up your environment, and the instructor leads it. In a naturalistic setting, the child will initiate the interaction, and that can happen at home or wherever they are. DTI is generally more planned and is very structured. Most of the time, discrete trial is very contrived, but the timing might not be as planned. Does it involve repetition? DTI, of course, does. There's lots of repetition. There's multiple trials, and they're conducted back to back so that it's possible that your child will just learn, well, I'm going to say this over and over and over. It's a rote response, and they still don't get the meaning. You have to watch out for that. So you may want to give them more breaks or do it at different times of day. In naturalistic, the learner, of course, initiates it. And sometimes it's difficult to figure out what's motivating your child in a naturalistic setting. It can get a little messy that way, but that's real life. The nature of the reward should be more obviously in the environment. Typically in DTI, though, the reward is extrinsic, like I'll give you an M&M if you do this thing, and it may not be connected to I'm going to touch the red button, give me an M&M. Where I want an apple, get the apple, and that's environmentally obviously there. With DTI, data collection, of course, is easy. You mark whether this thing happened or not, and you're doing it for a set number of times. And obviously naturalistic isn't as predictable, so data collection can get a little bit messy. Generalization, which we've talked about a little, is more planned in discrete trial training. And remember, generalization is using something you've learned in different environments. So if you've taught your child to hang up their backpack at school, can they do it at home? If they do it at home, they've generalized the skill to at least 2 settings. So in a natural setting, generalization is more built in, but that has to be more planned for with discrete trial training. And I'm going to try to change the slide here. So let me. And now some skills that are commonly taught using DTI and naturalistic settings. So for DTI, you could teach motor imitation, like teaching a child to jump, or teaching the child to try to imitate sounds or words, matching to a sample, like matching a picture to a picture, identifying objects, or labeling things. With incidental teaching, you can teach requesting for something, receptive language, so understanding directions more, social and play skills, and group instruction. Now, with incidental teaching is a technique that's used to get elaborated language you're trying to get longer language, so you have to wait for a person you're teaching to initiate a conversation about a topic or about something, and then responding in ways they try to get more information. So incidental teaching has some components. It takes place in a natural environment. It takes advantage of instances of high motivation and uses naturally occurring reinforcers and reinforces child initiation. And your child initiating things is so important. If we always do it for them, they don't see a reason to do it, so they never learn it. It didn't come from their brain. So we want to really try to increase their initiation for everything. Incidental teaching also we talk about here how to set the stage. You, for example, can eat a desired task in front of a child or play with, let's say, their car, and then see what they do about that. Now, they may not be in the mood to try to engage you. You may have to change what you're doing. You can place something out of reach but visible to the child as well. And then you're trying to set up a naturally occurring asking for the item or asking for help to get it. Natural environmental training, or NET, has components as well. It's conducted in the child's everyday setting and can start with manned training, which we're not going to get terribly into here, but a manned is a skill somebody already has. So the way a manned works is that if a child's motivated to get an item and tries to request it verbally or gesturally, they have that man they know they need to request. So prior to expecting a child to request in a natural setting, the child should be trained on requesting this item in a contrived setting and should have mastered the concept of requesting an item before you're expecting them to do it in a natural setting. So they have to already have that skill, essentially. The difference is that in NET, a child's displaying how they can use the manned in a natural context. Clinically, I have found that mands can occur naturally, and child might not have to have it completely mastered to use it in a natural environment. There's a lot of variability here. NET also uses Skinner's 1957 analysis of verbal behavior to develop instructional models for curriculum. So why teach naturalistically? Well, there's generalization benefits built in. I mean, they're learning in a natural setting, and it promotes social communicative behaviors. Some examples would be zippering up and hanging up a jacket, answering some social questions, playing with a toy, garage. So tips for these kind of naturalistic teaching methods is that you want to capitalize on the learner's desire as it occurs naturally, like, oh my God, I've got to have that car, or I want to drink. So fewer opportunities might occur unless you kind of set up the environment a little bit. You can manipulate an item or even alter the value of another item or event as a reinforcer. So if you give your child something they want, but you leave something out. So for example, if your child wants a cup of yogurt, give them the yogurt, don't give them the spoon, see what happens. Can they initiate asking you for a spoon? Can they initiate asking you for help? Or will they just throw the yogurt? Naturalistic, you know. A chain action, excuse me, can be completed due to missing items or other obstacles. And also it increases instructional opportunities. So once again, thank you for listening to this MyHana webinar. I'm Sandra Alexander, mom of David who has autism and is great, and I'm a speech therapist. Thank you.